NFL Talk with Elite Wages.
Yo, what's happening, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Elite Wages. I am Elite Wages, and this is going to be the episode that I break down last week's NFL, which was NFL Week 10. Another solid week, but just before we go into that, I want to reiterate something, and I do have something to say before I start. Now, I did receive a message from someone on Twitter. It wasn't a bad message, but it wasn't a nice message. It was trying to paint me in sort of a light that I completely disagree with. So I want to first off start off saying I'm by no means doing any of this, the podcast or my betting, my analytics, anything like that. I'm by no means doing that for any selfish reasons. I'm not doing it to gain a ton of followers. I'm not doing it to become famous. I'm not doing it to be like Trent. Everyone knows who Trent is. I'm not doing it to be anything like that. I'm not a kind of person that cares about any of those things. It might sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet a few times throughout the season, but that's literally just because I'm happy to be able to give out winners on a weekly basis. I started my Twitter account probably about 4 or 5 years ago because I have a deep interest in sports. I'm a stats guy through and through. There's nothing I love more than being able to have a correct prediction on a game or player. Winning money on top of that was a bonus. Now, within the past couple of years, my priorities have shifted to wanting to help people win money. I did have a VIP service where I charge people for my premium picks and things like that. I ditched that in because I didn't feel like I was doing the community justice kind of thing. So I ditched that, and like I said, my priorities have shifted to wanting to help people win money. So I didn't want to take money from people. I wanted to help people win it. So when I am able to do so by getting my predictions right and winning these wagers, it might come across I'm being selfish and trying to compete to be the best sports bettor, which definitely is not the case. I obviously own my losses. We've already had a few of those losses throughout the season already. But I'm enjoying a hot streak, and I'm enjoying giving out winners for everyone else to profit from. Obviously, when I'm winning, I feel like there's literally no one better, and it's only natural to be confident when you're winning. But it's never been for my own gain. It's always been to be able to help everyone find an edge and to win. It's always been us against the books. I've never done this for my own gain. I've done it for everyone's gain. But with that being said, I am going to gas myself a little bit, because why the fuck not? I'm on a hot streak, and hot streaks don't last forever, so I might as well make the most of it while it's here. So 5 winning weeks in a row, totaling over 13 units profit in those 5 weeks. So I'm actually going to go. Well, my total record for the last 5 weeks actually is 32, 15 and 1. So I'm over 50%, 13.4 units. Last week was 5, 3 and 1 for plus 1.18 units. So probably our lowest profit margin for the last couple of weeks, but profit's profit. And let's get into the breakdown for NFL Week 10.
Weekly NFL recap.
So, like I said, going 5, 3 and 1 for plus 1.18 units last week. So starting off with the breakdown, we'll go back into Thursday Night Football. Had a player prop in this game. Obviously, divisional game, Ravens versus the Bengals. Relatively easy winner on Thursday Night Football. Finally get a really good game. Ended 36-35 in a Ravens win. I had Lamar Jackson over 283.5 rush and pass yards. That cashed. He was obviously limited all week in practice with a knee injury. Nearing the game time, got me a little nervous, for the bet, as I had in my mind that he's going to rush around 50 yards to help cash this over. But in the end, he passes the line with his passing yards alone. His knee looked fine. He finished over 310 passing yards and rushing yards combined. So, relatively easy winner on Thursday Night Football. Moving on to NFL Sunday, we actually had a Germany game in Germany, so that was an early kickoff, 2:30 for everyone in the UK. I had Malik Neighbours over 6.5 receptions, and that did not cash. That was a little bit frustrating in this game. Dan Jones, he's absolutely awful. Neighbours finished with 6 receptions on 10 targets, but the ball placement was a huge issue for Dan Jones. Ultimately affected us cashing this bet. So although it sounds like the usage and the targets were there with 10 targets, the ball placement was just nowhere near him half the time. So I think he actually did well to get 6 receptions. So we missed that by half, or by the hook, and we move on to normal time on Sunday night football, on Sunday football, sorry. And we'll stay with the player props for now. I had Brock Purdy over 13.5 rushing yards, which cashed. This game was a close one, as expected. 49ers and the Bucs playing out a really close game. The Bucs played really well. They've been playing really well recently as well. I expected the Bucs to be able to play a close game in this one and get after Brock Purdy as much as they could. It caused Purdy to run for a few first downs and cash the bet relatively easy. Next one, Bijan Robinson over 105.5 scrimmage yards. And I also had Atlanta -3 in this one, so split the result on this game going 1-1. Falcons got outplayed from start to finish. Obviously the Saints dominated and quite simply didn't play well enough to win, let alone cover a -3 spread. So once again, Bijan Robinson, he was a bright spark in this offense. He finished with 116 rushing yards, so he cashed that scrimmage yard line just on the ground. 28 receiving yards, and obviously, again, cashed it with ease. If the Falcons would have been winning during this game, I'd have expected a lot more rushing yards added to this 116 total too. So looking back on the game, I'd gladly take a 1-on-1 in this game. So cashed Bijan Robinson, and we lost the Atlanta spread. On to another -3 spread with Buffalo Bills, which cashed. So Buffalo kept us winning on Sunday with a 10-point win over the Colts. They put up 30 along the way. I mentioned in last week's episode for my Bills -3 breakdown that Buffalo defense has looked good so far this season, and they started off the game with a pick 6, and then right back at it with another interception a few plays later. So they actually ended halftime 20-13 to the Bills. No points were scored until the final 3 minutes, where the Colts scored a touchdown and the Bills hit a walk-off field goal to win by 10. The Bills defense won them this game effectively. They scored 17 points from interceptions and fumbles. So again, Buffalo defense winning us this -3 spread. Next one was Pittsburgh Steelers +3.5. Now I actually bought half a point in this one. And this was another solid win for me on Sunday. I mentioned in last week's episode how I leaned towards Pittsburgh straight up in this game. I took the points and I bought half a point because, just in case of a walk-off field goal situation. But a 3 touchdown game from Russ Wilson. One of those turned out to be the winner from new acquisition Mike Williams, as they ensured a 1-point victory over the Commanders. So keep the points. Pittsburgh win outright, but we cashed the +3.5. Next play was Kansas City against Denver Broncos. I had the over 40.5, and that did not cash, but this was evident from the start that the over was never going to hit in this game. The Broncos jumped out to a shock 14-3 lead before allowing the Chiefs a touchdown before halftime, as well as missing a field goal to end the half. But since the moment the Broncos took the lead, you can see their sort of intentions in this game shift towards their defensive unit. They tried to play out this game to get the win using their defense rather than offense. They did a solid job too. They held the Chiefs to just 2 field goals in the second half, and they actually strung together a really nice drive which would have set them up for a walk-off field goal victory. But the Chiefs did what the Chiefs do, and they got the blocked field goal, and they actually won. So if the Broncos would have actually hit their first half field goal, I actually believe this game could have gone in another direction. Obviously, the Chiefs then would have needed more points than just field goals in the second half. Maybe that would have influenced the game slightly in terms of the over, but we suffer a loss in this one. We'll own it, and we'll move on to the next one. That next one is over in Detroit, -3. And actually, this one was really, really unlucky for all the Texas fans and Texans bettors. Despite how well the Lions have actually played to start the year, this game was dreadful. 5 interceptions from Jared Goff. The Lions defense played fairly well, though. They limited the damage from those 5 interceptions to just 10 points, which is obviously a positive for the defense. Texans led 23-7 at halftime, and I'm going to reiterate again that the Lions did a really good job in this game as they actually shut out the Texans in the second half, and they actually scored 19 unanswered points themselves. Late in the fourth quarter, the Texans missed a field goal, which was surely ensured their win, but ultimately Jesse Bates banged in a 52-yard field goal for the Lions' win. So it was a lot. Felt like a long game, and a lot happened within this game just to get a push and just to get our stake back. But I'm glad to get the stake back rather than lose this one. So we get a push on this one to end the week. So a quick little rundown on all the plays I had. Jackson over 283.5 rush and pass. That cashed. Neighbours over 6.5 receptions did not cash. Brock Purdy 13.5 rushing yards cashed. Bijan Robinson over 105.5 scrimmage yards cashed. Atlanta Falcons -3 did not. Buffalo Bills -3 cashed. Pittsburgh Steelers +3.5 cashed. Kansas City and Denver over 40.5 did not cash, and Detroit -3 got the push. So again, ended 5-3-1 for +1.18 units. That takes our total for the last 5 weeks. The record is 32-15-1 for 13.4 units profit. So we're in the good green there. And NFL Week 11 is now starting, and I'm going to go straight into my Thursday Night Football play this week. Obviously, we've got a nice looking divisional game between the Commanders and the Eagles. So you all know me now, and you all know I'm going to love this matchup. It's a divisional matchup time. Again, heading into the season, I had 2 very different predictions for these 2 teams. The Eagles, in my opinion, were going to go to the Super Bowl, and the Commanders were at the start of the season. They were on their rebuild, wouldn't contend, and how different could it have turned out to be? The Commanders have not only contended in the NFC East, but they've led the division for most of the season so far. Now the Eagles are back at the top after their last week's win, and obviously the Commanders lost. Both of these 2 teams are 7-win teams, and we are seeing some really, really good football out of both teams. The Commanders have been one of the best offensive teams they've been one of the best offensive teams this season, and clearly that's a real shock and a real surprise to me as an individual, given my preseason predictions. Jaden Daniels, he's been a really, really good addition to this team. He sits firmly at the top of the Rookie of the Year standings. His name's been dotted around the MVP, conversation as well. I don't think he'll quite make that, but he's done really, really well to get at the top of the Rookie of the Year standings. He's actually ranked inside the top 5 for quarterback rating as well. The Commanders are right up there at the top of the league for points per game. They're behind only Baltimore and Detroit, so that says volumes. That speaks volumes. They are tied with Buffalo as well with 29 points per game. So for the Commanders to be in a conversation with the Ravens, the Lions, and the Bills, in terms of points per game, that is huge. They've been a consistent threat. They've hit 20 or more points in all but 1 game. Washington's main threat comes from their run game, led by Robinson. They sit in 4th for most rushing yards per game, but obviously that's slipped slightly since Robinson's injury. He has just got back in practice this week. It's unsure whether he's going to suit up this week in Thursday Night Football, but that's obviously a good sign for them in the later part and the last part of the season. In terms of passing, they sit just outside the top 10 in 11th. In total offensive yards, they rank as the 4th best, behind only the 3 teams I mentioned before, the Ravens, Lions, and the Bills. On defense, they also rank just outside the top 10 in points allowed. They average 21, but they have slightly struggled to keep teams from moving down the field. The Commanders have the 27th ranked run defense, and they allow the 5th most rushing yards per game. They'll now face another top offense who sits slightly below Washington in the rankings. The Philadelphia Eagles are ranked 7th overall in averaging points per game, with just 3 points less than the Commanders with 25.9. And aside from their week 1 shootout, 34-29, I think it was, win against the Packers, they actually really struggled to score in the next 4 games after that. They averaged just 18 points, and then again dominated the most recent 4 games. They've scored 28 or more in all 4. So it's a huge difference going from scoring 18 maximum in 4 games to then scoring 28 minimum in the next 4, averaging 31 points in those last 4 games as well. Jalen Hurts, I can't get my words out today. Jalen Hurts, he's been hit and miss during the season so far, and his inconsistency has only gone unnoticed due to the rushing attack of the Eagles. It ranks as the 2nd best in the league. They average 176 yards per game, and that's obviously led by Saquon Barkley. The Eagles' rush attack averages 4.9 yards per carry. It should exploit this Commanders' poor run defense. The Eagles themselves are a top defense in the league. They average the 5th lowest, 17 points per game. The Eagles are significantly better in the pass and run games on defense, averaging the 3rd lowest with 173 passing yards to opponents, and the 5th least rushing yards per game, averaging 100 yards per game allowed. And when you combine those overall, they allow the 2nd least amount of touchdowns per game with 1.7 on average. Offensively, both teams are very, very similar. They possess elite weapons to help score points. You've got A.J. Brown on one side, you've got Terry McLaurin on the other side, you've got Robinson on the run game, you've got Saquon Barkley. So obviously, they've got their tools and things like that they are using. But all in all, the Eagles' defense is much better, and the Commanders are very much still in that rebuild phase on that side of the ball. Obviously, the Commanders, they've been able to dominate most teams. But of their 3 losses, they've only covered a plus 3.5 spread once, and with the other 2 games being 7 and 17 points losses against 2 top 5 offenses. As for the Eagles, they've been able to cover a minus 3.5 spread in all but 3 games. Both teams are 2-0 within the division, with the Commanders beating the worst ranked team in the NFL, the New York Giants, twice, and the Eagles also beating the Giants and the Cowboys too. The Eagles have a much more winnable schedule to end the season, whereas the Commanders have a tougher schedule to close out their season. They will actually face the Eagles twice and the Cowboys twice in the final half of the season. So they've got Eagles this week and Cowboys next week, and then they also end with the Cowboys and the Eagles as well. The foot is going to be very much on the gas pedal for the Eagles. The end of the season and the playoff clinching spot nears. The Eagles have a significant advantage in the defense department, especially when their run offense is extremely effective this season as well. And the Commanders have really struggled to stop the run. I give a huge edge to the Eagles in this game. I'm actually going to roll with my initial preseason NFC East division winner, the Philadelphia Eagles, to win by 3 or more. So we're actually going to go 1 unit on this one. Philadelphia Eagles -3 at odds of 1.89. So that was my play for Thursday Night Football, and that actually takes us to the end of this episode as well. So it's not been a long one; it's been a fairly short one. Again, as normal, as always, I want to give everyone a big thank you, huge shout out to everyone that managed to listen this far. Appreciate everyone for listening so long and listening to me yap on about NFL again. Hopefully we all cash this bet. So good luck to everyone what they're playing this weekend. Hopefully you all tail. Hopefully we all win. Don't forget to click the link in my bio. That will take you to my link tree. It's got all my links for all my social media accounts. So I've got my Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, YouTube, Substack, TikTok, Discord, Twitter, everywhere and anywhere. You can also get the Jackson Pine Sports AI bot, which I've been using actually to gain a lot more information about player props and things like that. If you click on the link for that and use code ELITE, ELITE, you'll get 50% off your first purchase as well. So yeah, so I'm going to sign off on this one. Good luck to everyone this week. I'll be back on Friday for the rest of my NFL Week 11 plays. Catch you later.